Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca Vasquez if you don't know me. Today I'm going to be presenting my demo lesson, but before I get started I just want to say that I hope everyone is safe and healthy, and I hope that all your families are healthy, and my prayers go out to all of you. Today my lesson is going to be on plant cell structure. The name of my lesson is The Incredible Edible Plant Cell. The grade intended is 5th. My central focus is plant cell structure. The learning objective for my lesson is students will be able to identify key structures of a plant cell and know their function. Some important things I want my students to know by the end of the lesson are what is a cell, to know that plant cells and animal cells are different, why cells are important, and what are the parts of the plant cell and their functions. So I just want to mention before I get into it, when I say key structures, I just mean that the most important structures of the cell, because we're not going to be digging deep into the cell today. I just want the students to be able to know the definitions of the most important parts of the cell. In the video, it touches on all the parts of the plant and animal cell, which is great for the students to know, but for today we're just going to be focusing on plant cells and the most important parts of the cell. So the materials you'll need are bowls of pre-mixed jello. For this one you can do per student depending on the size of the class. You can do per pair of students. I only have 10 students that I'd be doing this with if I was doing it in a classroom, so I would do 1 bowl per student. You would need candy and food items, which for my lesson I would tell the students a few days before class to bring their own candy in, whatever candy they like, if they want to, but I will also have enough for all the students if they didn't bring in any candy or food items. 1 circular fruit, which I'll get into, a smart board, BrainPOP video, and 2 plant cell worksheets, and 1 plant cell diagram worksheet. Those are for each student. Okay, so getting into the lesson, for my engage, I would start by, on the smart board, showing side by side microscopic images of a plant cell and animal cell, which I have right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, but I'll show you anyways. So here's the animal cell microscopic image I have. And here is the plant cell. So what I would do is I would have those images side by side, and I would just say that these are cells. And I would ask the students to write down any differences they notice between the cells in a minute or 2. Obviously they're not going to notice some big differences between the cells, but I just want them to see that that they do look different. They'll learn that they are different in some ways, but they should be able to at least recognize that the plant cell has more of a tight fitted structure, and they have the thick cell wall around it. And that's the cell that we're going to be focusing on today. So after I ask them to do that, I will have them share a little bit of what they think, and then I would just go right into showing the BrainPOP video. And in the BrainPOP video, it discusses what a cell is, what a plant cell is, what an animal cell is, some of their differences, and it talks about all the structures of a plant cell and an animal cell. So while the video is playing, I will hand out the post-video worksheet. So this is the plant cell worksheet that I made. So while the video is playing, the video will say this is a cell wall, and it'll show where the cell wall is on a plant cell. And then I would have the students, while listening to the video, write down each structure that's labeled on here. This keeps them engaged in the video and focused on the video, and I want to just make sure that they're paying attention, and it really gives them a good visual on what is on this worksheet. So after the video, I will go over the worksheet with them and I'll have this on the smartboard blank beforehand, and I'll ask the students to like tell me what part is this, and they'll say that's the cell wall, and I'll write that down, and then I'll give the definition of it, and they can write it on their worksheet as well. So this post-video worksheet will have all the correct labels of the cell structures and what their definitions are or what their functions are. So after that, I will then hand out all the bowls of jello. I will, in the front of the classroom, have my bags of candy that I'm providing, and then the students who brought their own candy will keep that at their desks, and they can choose if they want to share it or not with other students in the classroom. I will hand out the bowls of jello to each student, and I will explain to them that today we're going to be making our own plant cells. And what I will do is I will tell them to keep their post-video worksheet of the plant cell at their desks, and I will also have mine at the front of the room so they can look at it and refer to it when they're making their plant cells. And I'll show you what I have. So I'll have my model up in front of the classroom. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but here's my plant cell. It's falling apart because I left it out for too long. But that's my plant cell. So what I did is, I'll see if I can hold it up. So I have the circular fruit is for the nucleus, because that's the biggest part. So, and then I have all the main parts that we're discussing in class on here. So the students will be able to really experiment with this and use their own candy and gummies and all different types of stuff to make their plant cells. And the way I'll do this so that I can evaluate the students with their diagrams is I'm going to hand out one of these to each student. So there's a purpose behind where they're putting their gummies and candies and fruit. So on this worksheet, this will be their elaborate. So the students will be able to tell me why they put certain items where they did and for what reason, and they should refer to the plant cell. So if they're referring to the plant cell, like for example for mine, I have the nucleus in the middle, I put the apple. So on here I would write this for the structure, I would say nucleus, what I used, apple, and why I used it. I used the apple to represent the nucleus because it is the largest part of the cell. So this just gets them used to where the cells are. Something that I would also include if I'm going to model this for the students, I would say I put the ribosomes near the endoplasmic reticulum because the endoplasmic reticulum transports the material that's important for protein synthesis, and ribosomes are the organelles that hold proteins. So just like little things like that is what I want to see from the students. I want them to be able to tell me why they placed objects where they did. And this is just a fun way for students to be creative and kind of express themselves in a science experiment. So that's that. So after they're done with that, and after they have completed their worksheets, I will collect all of the worksheets, and that's also part of my evaluation. And then after that activity, I will then do a group activity with everyone, which is a game called I Have, Who Has, and I'm sure a lot of people know about this game. A lot of different teachers use this for different subjects. So for the game I Have, Who Has, I will hand out one card to each student. I have 11 cards here, so that'll be enough for each student and myself. So I, as a teacher, will start off the game, and I will say, I have nucleus. Who has the organelle used to store materials needed by the cell and for storing waste? So the student who has vacuole will say, I have vacuole. Who has blah, 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 blah. And so I made this in a specific order with laminated index cards, which I'm sorry, I forgot to include in the materials section. So this is another material I have index cards laminated for the game. And while this game is going on, once one part is named, I will have the students then write down where that part on the cell is. And I will also collect this at the end to evaluate students. So I won't have them write the definitions because I will be able to evaluate them on these as well if the students are able to recognize the definition and the term. But I just want to be sure that they're able to recognize where each part of the cell is on the cell diagram. So that is my lesson. I will be collecting the plant cell diagram that has just the labels on it that we did in that activity. I will be informally assessing them through the group activity game, which is the I Have Who Has game. And I will also be collecting the plant cell diagram worksheet to see if students are able to explain why they used what they used and relate it to the plant cell that we learned about in class. So as a whole, I just wanted to mention that this would be part of a lesson segment where students will be able to, like I said earlier, differentiate between an animal cell and a plant cell. So the next day, after this lesson, the next day, I would be focusing on animal cells and what their functions are in the cell. And after that lesson, I would want my students to be able to tell me what the difference is between the two. So that's it for my lesson. I hope you all enjoyed it. I want to hear your feedback, and I hope I see you all next semester. Okay, bye!